Hi, everyone. Sorry it's so dark, but it's 8 p.m. in South Africa, and for you guys, it's like 1 p.m. So it's a bit dark around here. Oops. Okay, sorry about that. I think I was trying to figure out how to. Okay. Sorry, you heard an echo of me. Okay. I hope the echo doesn't happen again. Yeah, so it's 8 p.m. in South Africa, and it's so good to be chatting to you guys after so long. So in South Africa right now, we're experiencing load shedding. And what is load shedding is that our electricity company, Eskom, is having trouble with producing enough electricity for the country. So what they're actually doing is sort of cutting down on the electricity usage. So between certain hours, we have no electricity. So the schedule is not scheduled to the electricity to go off during this time, but let's keep fingers crossed that the electricity does not go off. Okay. Yeah, let's see how many peeps are on here. It's about 4 people on. You guys can just say hi so I know who's around. And then I'm going to start my presentation, and I've placed it in the link, and I'm going to screen share. Okay. So how I'll work with questions is you can type in the questions. So after each section that I have anything to, if you have anything to ask, then after each section I do, then I'll just pop on into the messages and then I'll ask the questions, okay? And the session will be recorded and will be available on the same link, okay? So I'm now screen sharing. So if someone can just drop me a message on here and say that they can see my screen, that'll be great. Okay, let me just type here. Okay, great. So I'm going to start the presentation. Okay. So this presentation was based on, so Slashroots actually gave me feedback on what the participants of both the boot camps were asking about. A lot of people were asking about anonymizing data. Some people were asking about visualizing. Some people were asking about creating maps. So this session is going to focus on what was requested, okay? So again, this presentation is available at this link, bit.ly CFA Daata webinar. Okay, so yeah, so hoping to take at most 2 hours because I know it's a lot for you guys to sit through. Yeah, so let me just first talk about Academy.Africa. So Code for Africa has an academy, and this academy works in 2 ways. So the first is we have on-site training to journalists, to universities, going into newsrooms face-to-face and doing trainings. We also have a MOOC, okay, which can be accessed on this link, academy.africa. And there's a whole lot of courses that you can do. It's not only on data journalism. So here's the courses that will be most useful to you. So there's a course on open data for government. There's one on open data for reporters and activists. There's one for publishers and civil society organizations. So these courses are absolutely free. You just register online. You do them at your own pace, and yeah, and so it won't take you very long to do it. Yeah, so I highly suggest that you guys have a chance to go and actually register and view these courses. Even some of the journalism courses will be quite useful, as in how to verify images and so forth. Okay, let me just see, is there any questions about our academy? Okay. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So now what I want to go through is data standards and anonymizing data. Okay. So we always say open data is important, open data is good, but not all data should be open. For example, where bank vaults are kept, the public should not know about that. Missile codes public should not know about that. So not every data should be opened, okay? But it's good to open data because it helps with decision making. It helps with accountability. It helps to keep government honest and so forth, okay? But when you have, for example, survey data, you have to make sure that this data does not identify an individual, okay? So a person can be identified, for example, with their names. You don't share their names in the data. Their email addresses, their identity numbers, cell phone numbers, okay? And then also like a few details that you may not think is as obvious. For example, if you know a person above 70 years old living in the village, and there's only one person of that age, then it'll be definitely obvious who that person is. So that's why we want to keep the data. We want to actually anomalize the data so that people cannot identify who it is. Okay, so there's two types of identifiers. The first is direct identifiers. So that's easy. When you have data such as names, addresses, phone numbers, when you have passports, ID numbers, email addresses, and so forth. And then there's indirect identifiers. For example, locations, unusual education. So if one person in the village studies something like astroscience, and if that person's career is there in the data set, then it's easy to pinpoint actually who that person is. Okay, so unusual physical characteristics, dates, birth dates, admission, discharge, salaries, or revenues. Okay. So as government, when you are publishing data, making your data open, you need to ensure that you first anomalize your data, okay? So some of the techniques that can be used is aggregation. So this combines the data. So for example, instead of breaking the data down into villages, you can put it into parishes or counties. Okay. Then suppression is where you remove the data. So you just remove the names, absolutely remove the names, remove the ID numbers, okay? Then there's a technique called top coding. So what this does, it removes the upper bound values. So an example is, if Bill Gates had to put his salary in a survey, okay? People would identify this is Bill Gates' salary because it's so high up that it's a bit obvious and no one else will be earning within that range. So for example, instead of putting individual salaries, you can cut off a limit and say 70,000 US dollars plus. So that person earns above that amount, okay? Then there's another technique called generalization, where you summarize the data trend. So you actually talk about or you sort of show the trend that is happening throughout the country, throughout the city. Okay. Then there's sampling. So if you have a large number of records, like 200 and so, maybe you can use half of that. Okay. So of course, when using these techniques, you obviously will lose the degree of how down you go into it. So it will be a bit more harder to interpret results. Well, not really a bit more harder, but it'll be a bit more harder to have decision making being done because you don't know the exact location of a person and so forth. but we have to protect people's privacy as well. We have to protect people from putting out this data. So open data is good, but we have to make sure that we are doing it the right way. We have to protect people in sharing data. Okay, let's see. Are there any questions on this? Okay, I don't see any questions. So I'm going to move on, okay? If you don't have questions right now, you can post it on later. You can send me an email later, and I can get back to you, okay? Oops, I think I've seen a question. Okay, I have. Okay, Erica has a question. Okay, she's formulating the question. Okay, Erica's having a trouble posting a question. Typed it and it's not pasting. Okay, okay, Erica, I mean, you can try and figure that how to, yeah, okay, I'll continue. And then you can send it to me via email, or once you figure it out, I'll have a look back and get back to you, okay? So also with normalizing data, it's good for you, like your department or you as a researcher, you know, you standardize the sort of way that you normalize data. So when you are working with further projects, you use the same method, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do some mapping, okay? And the platform we are using is called Kato. So I love Kato. I've done GIS in varsity, but Kato is just so simple. Anyone can do it. You don't need coding. It's amazing. Your maps are interactive. It's just amazing, okay? It's a tool I use quite often as well with work, okay? So this is a Kato platform, okay? And then you have maps, which will show you all the maps you created. And then you also have a data view that shows you all the data sets, okay? Now I want to add in a new data set, okay? I'm going to click on new data set. So you can either connect this data set through Google Drive, Dropbox, and so forth. And the file type you can use is CSV, XLS, zip, KML. So the KML files is Google Earth file. So in your CSV file, you have to have the coordinates of the place you're trying to plot, okay, or of the points. You need to have coordinates. So now I'm going to upload St. Lucia school data. So this is gonna plot schools in St. Lucia. Okay. Now you have two views, a data view. A data view shows the table of data. Basically, it shows your CSV. And then you'll see it has the coordinates in it, okay? So you can see it tells you the name of the school and the type, if it's public or not, okay? And the education district. Then if you click on map view, you see the data plotted, okay? What you can do is zoom out so you can see this better, okay? And then you can see there's a whole lot of schools in St. Lucia. Now, what we want to do is we want to create a map view. A map is not created because we're just viewing the data. So I'm going to click on Visualize. and it says a map is required to publish, and I click OK, create map. Okay, and there I have the schools. So now what I want to do is I want to go to wizards. So there's various options. Okay, this shows this is the school layer. So you can add in SQL if you want to select specific data from that. Then we have wizards. And in the wizard, what you can do is change. Maybe you can cluster the data. Okay. If you had categories, you can use a chloropeth. You can use categories if you have categorical data, bubbles, and so forth. Okay. So what we're just going to use is simple. And I want to change this color. Maybe I want to make this color red. You can also add in a hex code. You also have something as marker stroke, when you can change the marker, so that's what around it is. Okay, so you can play around with all these options. So now this is the fun part of all of it, choosing the color. So info window is making it interactive. So what you want to know, you have click and hover. So when you click over the point, you want it to do something. When it hovers over, you want it to do something. So you have very different options for click. You can have light. So if we have on light, if you click on it, it's light. And then you have dark. Okay. Now what fields do you want to show? I want to show names, and I want to show type, and I want to show the education district. Okay. So maybe I want name before education district. So I'm going to just drag this down. Okay. So now if a user, so this map can be embedded, and now if the reader comes onto this map, they can simply just click on there and they have the information of this. You can even put in the coordinates. Okay. Then if you go on to hover, it's the same thing. You can choose light or dark. And then if you hover, again, I want to put name, type, education district. And I want to move education district. Okay. So if I hover, you'll see the name, type, education district. Okay. So now what if I want to add another layer of data on this? So example, I want to create a map showing more than just schools. I want to show different facilities in St. Lucia. So I go to add layer. Okay. And then you can either upload a data set, but I've already uploaded it for time purposes. So I want to add in health facilities. Okay. And then I add the layer health facilities. Okay, so health facilities is there. So you have the same features once again. So I want to change this. I want to make this blue. So you can actually distinguish between health facilities and schools. Okay. Once again, you can make this interactive, the name of the health facility. So if I click on the blue, it gives me the name of the health facility. Let's add another layer. This is showing me data library instead of my data sets. So let's just wait a little bit. Okay, that's data library. Now my data sets needs to be my data sets. Okay, there we are. I want to add hotels. Okay, then once again, let's make the hotels green. Okay, then I want to add another layer. I want to add police stations. By the way, this is a free platform, and the account I'm using is a free account. You, of course, have a premium account that you pay for, and it has a bit more features. But this is the account I use. It's free, and I do a lot of my the work for Code for Africa using this free account. Okay, so let's change police stations to yellow. Okay. So now you want your user to know what each color represents. So you have this legend bar. So you go to legend and you click on custom template and add, okay? So the first one we want to add is red. And the red is schools. Oops. Is it? Let's see. Yes, the red is schools. Schools. Then you add the next one is yellow, and the yellow is police stations. Police stations. And then you add the next one and want it to be green, and that is hotels. And then the last one is blue, and we want this to be health facility. Health facility, it should be hotel, not hotels. Okay, so then you have your legend there. Then you have these options, okay? You have an option for fixed title. Now here we want to label our map, okay? So if you just click on it, I can label it. So let's just say facilities in St. Lucia, okay? Now you want to edit the metadata because it's important to have your source. So source, I think it was development planning department or something. I can't remember exactly. And this was 2017 or 18, okay? I'm just putting in that for now. I'm not guaranteeing that's the exact source, but I'm showing you that you have to have your source, okay? It's quite important to have your source. Now, maybe you want to change the background, the base color, okay? The base map. So you have different options. You can go into like a satellite, okay? Or you can go into something like this, okay? And also there's a platform called Mapbox. And when you go onto Mapbox, you can actually custom create a base map and you can upload that into Carto. Okay. Your other options is a search box, okay? So you can show your search box or not. So what the search box does is if you type in an address, it'll zoom into that area of the map, okay? So maybe you want to see the nearest school to you. You go in, type your address, and then you'll see the schools nearest to you, or the hotels nearest to you, the police stations nearest to you. There's also a share button here, so you can share the map. There's zoom controls as well. Layer selector. Okay, so layer selected shows the different layers. Okay, and if you want to change these names, you simply go here and edit the names, because you can see it's a bit untidy. Some of the names, the letters are all together. Okay, so if I switch between layers, say I just want to see police stations. I just want to see police stations and health facilities. Okay, so you can switch between them. Not only can you switch between them now when you're editing, but when you embed this map, your user will be able to switch between these layers. Okay. And then fixed description as well is important, which is your source there. What you can also do is add an element. So to add an element, you can add a title. Maybe you don't like this title, normal title. You can put up this title, facilities in St. Lucia, and maybe just remove that title if you want, okay? And then there's options to edit the text, various bold or color and so forth, okay? And then also you can annotate an item. So this is what this will do. So you can say, I am here, or sort of, airport or something important you want to show. And you can also add an image as well. That's useful for adding logos to your map, okay? Then you had edit options where you can export this map. You can export this layer and then upload it into another GIS software, okay? And you can duplicate it, you can export the map. Then when you click on publish, you can get a link that will just open up your map like this, okay? It'll open up your map like this. Or if you click on embed, this is the code you'll use into your website, and then the map will be there for your user to play with, okay? And if they click on this, so this is exactly what your user will see. They won't, okay, the map here, so this is what they'll see. Like if they hover there, if they click, they'll be able to see that. Okay, so I hope that was fun to learn. Okay, let's see. Questions. Are you going to introduce actual techniques for normalization? I won't be able to introduce actual techniques because we only have like about 2 hours. So and I'm trying to cover a lot of things in there. So if I had to introduce techniques, actual techniques, that will just be a session on its own. Okay, Dean has asked if this video will be available for download later. Yes, it will be recorded. What are the pricing services for pricing service options? Okay, so let's look at that. So I'm using so Code for Africa uses a free account. Okay, so if you go to pricing, okay, so it asks you to contact them. So yeah, I think you'll have to contact them for, they probably develop a package depending on what you need. But this account I've used and everything I've showed you on this so far is for a free account. Okay, there does not appear to be a register link. Okay. So if you go to carto.com, see, it already logs me in. So I don't know where to register because it already logs me into my account. But I'm sure if you just Google Carto register, you should be able to find a way to register. Yeah, I can't see it because I'm already logged in there. So let me just see if I close session, what happens? Yeah. You would be able to see something like this. I see this. Oh, no, it's bringing me to Carto, codeforafrica.carto, showing me Carto. Okay, I think because the memory stores this on, so I can't see where to sign up. Okay. So yeah, so I think you can register through a Google account, and I'm sure you can register through email. Yeah, but it's free to register as well. Can you direct us? Yes, sure. I'll send through resources for a normalization. Yeah, but even if you see those few techniques I showed you, about 4 of them, even if you just do a little research on them, that'll be quite useful to you. But I'll definitely send through some more resources to you. Okay, we're doing good on time. Okay, so everyone's happy with Carto. Are you guys ready to make maps now? Is everyone ready to make maps? Okay. I want to show you guys a platform called Google Data Studio, okay? So of course, this is a platform developed by Google. And the little screenshot you see here is of something that's possible that can be made with Google Data Studio. So what this is good for, this is good for actually, this is good for creating dashboards and reports, putting in a whole lot of data together into dashboards, okay? So this is the data I want to work with. It is fire data in Jamaica, okay? So this spreadsheet is on the presentation if you guys need it and would like to do the exercise after. Okay, so this is Google Data Studio. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to start a new report. This is also a free platform and you register with your Google account. Okay, and then you can title your name. Okay, data training. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to create a new data source. Okay, so you can do this by various ways. You can connect to your Google Drive. You can upload a file. You can use Google Analytics, for example. You can use MySQL, YouTube Analytics, and so forth. So what I want to do is I want to upload a CSV from my desktop. So I'm going to click to upload, and this map data. Okay. Then it's going to upload, it processes. And then it's uploaded. And then I'm going to click on connect. Okay, so it shows me all my data. And then if this was not here, I can change it, but I know it's here. And then you have different options. You want to make it a percent, text, you want to format it before you put it in, connect it, add it to your report, sorry. And then you click on add to report. You click add to report. So now this data is connected. So this is your working space, okay? This is a page. You can add multiple pages. So first what we're going to do is we're going to add a chart. Let's add a line chart, okay? So all of this is drag and drop. You can drag and drop it. So it has this grid line so you can see if everything's even, if everything's, if you want it in the middle, if you want it to be between different spaces. It's quite helpful for design work, okay? Then on your right, what you have here is you have your data source, which is fires in Jamaica. The dimension is here. And the metric is Kingston. It just added Kingston and St. Andrew. So I want to add the rest of them, okay? Because I want a comparison. Okay, and then you can add as many as you like or how many you don't like. So you'll see sort. So what this is, the chart is actually being sorted by the Kingston and St. Andrew data. So it goes from 2016 to 2014. But what we actually want to do is we want to sort it by year. Okay, and we want it to be ascending. So 2012, 2013, okay. Then what you can do, if you click on style, you can change the colors. You can change the colors, you can show data labels, okay, for each one that you want, each line that you have. Okay, and then you can adjust your chart. Maybe you're seeing the titles are not enough, you want the chart too big, you want the chart a bit smaller, and so forth, okay? So what you can do as well is you can add a filter. So when you add a filter, the year is the filter. And then when your user clicks on this, they'll be able to see, select which year they want to see data for, okay? Then this is the edit view. And if you click on view, here you're seeing how interactive it is, okay? And then you select year. For example, maybe I don't want to see 2012 and 2013 data. So you only see 2014 onwards. Okay, if I remove that, I remove that. Okay, and then you can go back to your edit mode. Okay, so this works identically to most Google products as Google Docs, Google Drive. So you can add a person, give them share so they can edit this with you. You can share the link to this report. You can also embed this report into a website, okay? And you can even just download the report. So what's also nice is you can insert, for example, a text box, and then I can put in my title here. And then I can change the font. I can change the border color, so forth. So this is fires in Jamaica. Okay. And then you can make it all pretty. You can add in a shape. Okay. And you can place it over there and right click on it and go order, send to back. Okay. So you can make it look quite pretty. And then what's important as well is to add a text box at the bottom or or below each chart saying the source. What you can also add, you can also add an image or URL embed. Okay, and here are the different charts that you can add. So it's quite fun to use. Okay, it's very easy to use. I think it's a very good way to create a dashboard when you have a lot of data. For example, if I had data on how many people were injured in these fires, okay, then I'll have another chart here as well. And then if I filter the year, it'll also filter that. So you have all your data in one place. Okay, it could be good for reporting as well. Let's check. Are there any questions? Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, maps. Yeah, maps are cool. So I want to show you some great examples of using Google Data Studio. So these projects I'm showing you actually won some awards. So they excellent ideas, and you won't believe that this simple platform that I showed you to use can create these amazing projects. It like blows me away how amazing these projects are. And you can do it. You just need a good eye. You need to practice. You need to take your time and do it. Okay. Okay. So here's one. This is done for the UN 2030. Yeah, I think that was the competition. It was the UN 2030. Visualize the data, and then yeah. So as you can see, this is like a story almost. It takes you through. Look at these. These are interactive. Interactive again. This is so engaging. You can change the year, 1980. Okay, and it shows you this data. Challenges. So specific country. So this data is for each country. And let's just say I want Algeria. And then the data is available for there. Let's see a Caribbean. Let's see if Jamaica's on here. Okay, and here's the data for Jamaica. Again, interactive charts. This is so engaging. This like takes you through an immersive experience, going through it. What can we do? It's time for action. Okay. Here's another one as well, done for this Visualize 2030 competition. And this is on earth, water, and rising temperature. Okay, and then they added in the goals, some text, and look at this is a map now. with charts along it. So if you look at that, all interactive, taking you through a story, taking you through, you can change the year once again, 2015, more data. So isn't that quite engaging? Can you also do calculations such as average? Is that question for Google Data Studio? Yeah, you can. So they will be, actually, you know what, I'm going to show you another platform for that. But you can, for example, let's see, if you edit that, and then if you put that on average, it stays the same because it's a particular value. Okay, but I'm going to show you another platform that's going to show you how to do averages quite well. So is everyone feeling inspired of these platforms so far, visualizing data? Can you see yourself using this for your work? Okay. I'm going to move on now to a platform called Workbench. Okay, let me just close the Data Studio tabs. Check any questions. Yes, I can. Great. Okay. So Workbench is a relatively new platform. It does what multiple platforms can do. It can scrape data. It can analyze data. It can clean data. It's a combination of a whole different lot of platforms into one. Okay, so now let's go through Workbench. It's quite amazing. Okay, so this is the platform, Workbench, and then I'm going to click on, so there's tutorials and everything on this on the Workbench website. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create workflow. Okay, and on the left you have sections to add your steps. So the first step I want to do, so you have the steps, you have add data, all the steps were to add data, scrape data, clean, analyze, visualize. You can also code. So this platform does multiple of things. So what I want to do is I want to paste in my data, okay? And I have some population data. So it's a bit dirty here. You can see that there's spaces between the parish names. There's an empty column. There's some values missing. Okay, so I'm going to select my whole data set. And if you guys remember what I taught you last year, is to select the whole data set, you click Control A, okay, and then Control C to copy. Now I'm going to go back into Workbench and I'm going to paste my data. And I'm going to click Has Header Row because it does. Okay, and there I see my data's in here. Now I don't want this 2018 column, so I'm going to add step, go down to clean, drop empty columns. Okay, and then that column is removed. Okay, then I have a column here, a row here that has missing values. So I want to add a step again, go to clean data and delete rows. So what row do I want to delete? I want to delete row 14. Okay, and then at each step you have this little arrow here, and when you press it, that performs the step. Okay, now remember we had these spaces here. Now we can't really see it in here, but they do exist. So if you export this file, you're still going to have the same problem. So what I want to do is add a step. I'm going to go to clean text. Okay. The column I want to clean is parish. I want to trim around value. Okay. And then you can also change your capitalization, lowercase, uppercase, and so forth. Okay. Now what I want to do, I see Saint is ST. But what if I want it to be spelled full, SAINT? So then I add another step. And that step is search. Where is it? That step is search and replace, okay? So what column do I want it to do the search and replace? I want to do it on the parish column. So what do I want to search for? The ST. And I want it to match case. If I don't click on match case, what it's going to do is it's going to look for any SNT. For example, in Manchester has a SNT, and it's going to replace that with Saint in the middle. SNT in Kingston will be replaced in the middle with Saint. So that's why I'm clicking on match case. And then what I want to replace it with is Saint. And then again, I'm going to press the play button. And then you see it changes to Saint. Okay. So this is much easier than using spreadsheets. I mean, it is a spreadsheet, but using Google Sheets and using formula and so forth, it's much more easier. Okay, so now what I've noticed is I want to do some calculations, okay? I want to add up, I want to see the change in population from 2017 to between 2017 and 2012. But now these columns are actually text columns, so I can't perform calculations on them. So what I have to do is I have to change the column from a text to a number. So then I'm going to go down. Okay, you can even use the search bar here. And you can click on convert to numbers. And then you select the columns. So because there's so many columns to select, I'm just going to select all and just delete parish. Okay, you have the format whether you want it in US and EU. Replace invalid values with null or zero. Okay. And then I press play. Okay, and then these columns have been converted into number. So as I said, I want to show the change in population. So by how many did the population grow between 2012 and 2017? So I'm going to do a next step now, and this step is an analysis step. Okay. Calculate. So what I want to do is subtract columns, okay? So I want to take 2017, and from it, I want to minus 2012. And then this new column I want to create, I'm going to call it change in population from 2012 to 2017. And then I'm going to press play. And here's my column. Okay. Then what I want to see is the parish that had the highest change in population. So I'm going to go to Analyze and Sort. So the column I want to sort is change in population. And I want to see descending. So this shows me the parish that has the highest change in population, or the most change in population, okay? Now what I want to do is, I want to visualize this data. So then I go down. You don't have to go down. I'm just going down to show you guys all the different things that are available. You can also use the search bar and just search for what you need. I want a column chart. Okay, so what I want my title of my chart to be is population change from 2012 to 2017. What I want on my x-axis to be parish, and I can even label it parish. My y, I want it to be, see, change in population, okay? And then you can put in number of people. And then I'm going to press play. And there you see you have your data visualized for you, okay? What's also important is to add your source in. So I'm going to speak to Workbench and ask them to please put in another label for source so we can have our source appear here, because that's very important. So what can you do with this? You can embed this, okay? So it'll be interactive. You can download it. You can save it as a PNG. You can view the source. So when you view source, it actually shows you the code. And then you have the code of this chart, and you can create your own code, your own chart. Then you can also open it into an editor. And in this editor, what it does, it changes, you can actually change the code here. So if you want to replace white with black, and the changes will appear here, okay? Maybe you don't like the visualization platform on this. What you can do is, once your data is all cleaned up, you can click on the export button and download this data into another spreadsheet, and then put it into another visualization platform, because you can clean with this and you can do multiple things. You don't have to visualize with it. Okay. So now I want to do one more thing. So I want to refine. So I want to cluster. Okay, I want to cluster the parishes into counties. Okay, so what is also useful for the refine function, if you guys remember from last using open refine, if I have Jamaica spelled 5 different ways, okay, but it's supposed to be Jamaica spelled properly. What you want to do is cluster all of that into one, and all that records be one Jamaica. Okay, so the column I want to refine is parish. So let's see. I have this written down because I don't know the counties off by heart. So let's see. Okay, so Hanover, St. Elizabeth, St. James. I'm not sure how to pronounce this one. Westmoreland. Okay, we want to merge them. Okay, and now I'm going to edit. I'm going to call this Cornwall County. Okay. Then the next. Okay, for Middle X. Okay, Manchester, St. Anne, St. Catherine, St. Mary, merge, and this is Middle X. I hope I'm getting this right. Middle X County. Okay, and then the remaining 3. Will be Surrey. Okay. So can you see what it's done? It replaced the names with the counties. But now I have so many Surrey counties. I want to know the total in Surrey County. or Surrey County. I want to know the total population in Cornwall County, okay? Not these individual ones. So now I'm going to add a step, and then let's type in group. Okay. The column I want to group by is parish, and I want the sum. Okay. And the column selecting is change in population. Okay. So there I have just these three. So I have the change in population in Cornwall, in Middlesex, and Surrey. Okay. So now what if I want to visualize this? Okay. I don't have to create another chart. What I can do is just put the step, move the step up before the chart there, before this chart. Okay. Group, and then okay, let's just see. Group. Oh, sorry, I put it after refine. That's why, okay. So you got to make sure your steps are in the correct order. So this needs to go there. So it's a bit difficult because I have a tiny laptop screen. Okay, let's just move that there. Okay, so we first refine it and then we group it. Okay, and then I'm going to drag my visualization all the way down. Okay, now drag my visualization down. In the column I want sum of change. Okay, there we see. So this shouldn't be parish. This should be county. Okay, so we see the population change between 2012 and 2017 in each county. Okay. So that's a very useful platform. What are you guys saying about this? So I'm not a fan of Tableau. I feel it's not very user-friendly, as well as you pay for it as well. This is free. Yeah, so I prefer using the free platforms. I mean, as working for a nonprofit, we use the free platforms. You can use Tableau, but I like Google Data Studio better than Tableau. It's much more user friendly. You can collaborate on it as well. Okay. Yeah, and personally, I don't use in my work, and I do quite a bit of data work. I don't ever use Tableau. Okay. Data cleaning is satisfying. Yeah. Can the data source be a database instead of an X file? Yes, of course. Okay. So let's look at the different sources. Okay. So if I just add a step there and a source, so it can be from a URL. So there it says connected dataset JSON feed API via its public URL. Okay. Google Drive, yeah, Twitter, and you can upload it. So it doesn't really say database, but if you have an API, then yes. Okay. Yes, Workbench is free. I believe that all the platforms being shared is either completely free or has a major free component that does not limit the work you can do. Yeah. So I am showing you free platforms, and you can do quite a bit with it being free. Okay, now I'm going to show you a very fun thing with Workbench. Okay, now I want to create a new workflow. And so what I want to do is I want to scrape a table from a website. Now, excuse me, I don't have the best example for this because I'm not so familiar. It'll take me forever to go through like Jamaica and St Lucian websites to find like a table. So I'm, just for example's sake, because I wanted to show a local example, because I could have scraped from Wikipedia or something, but I want to show a local example. So if you see this table here of addresses, okay, now I want to scrape this. So I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to paste that in. So they ask for the table's position, okay? So this kind of looks like a table, this one. So I'll say that's table 1 and this is table 2. But you can try it out. So first I tried table 1 and what it showed me was this. And then so I selected table 2, okay? And so the first row is headers, the table's position is number 2. And then you scrape that. Okay, and here you have the data. So, okay, this is amazing, but not as amazing what you can do now. You have an update option. And if you click on this, you can click on auto. So what this does, it automatically updates this workflow. So like this sort of, so what we've been working on now is a workflow with the newest data, and the old data will be saved, okay? So how often should the data update? I mean, how often should you check? How often should they check for data updates? So they can check 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, in weeks, and you can even get an email for when this data has been updated. So you'll be up to date with the latest data, okay? And then, or you can just check manually, okay? But the great thing is that automatically your data here on the site will be updated, your visualization will be updated, and so forth. And this is done with no code. Okay, so this is amazing. And then once again as well, you can clean this, you can visualize it, and so forth. But having the data to update and like send you an email so you know it's been updated is just amazing without you having to code, without you just dragging and dropping stuff. It's quite amazing. Okay, let's see. So, okay. For an hour. I have been here for over an hour. Okay. I'm always energized after these sessions. However, the reality of enough time is my nemesis. Apart from the open data portals and government websites, what are the sources of good and reliable data that can be used ethically? So the World Bank has an amazing, data sources, okay? And it's, sorry, I'm trying to read the questions and get the answer, and there's more questions popping up and all of that. Yeah, so the World Bank has amazing data sources, and it depends what you are looking for, because the UN has a lot of data sources as well. Yeah, like if you're looking for agricultural data, there's like the FAO, there's the World Health Organizations. So basically, these big organizations collect a lot of data. And a lot of them are accessible, like the UN's accessible, a lot of it's accessible. The World Bank data, a lot of is accessible. WHO, a lot of the data is accessible. So maybe you did not find the data within, like done locally. So maybe a department in Jamaica government or St. Lucia government didn't do the report or the survey. International organizations, WHO and the World Bank, they also do reports and surveys. And also there's the Demographic Health Survey, DHS. I'm not sure if it's done in the Caribbean, but in Africa, that's widely used, and that has a lot of survey data. Also, your census is really good as well. That can help. But if you have like a particular topic you're looking for data, I may be able to point you in the right direction. Okay. Can Workbench be used as a data source in Data Studio? Let's see. Let's see that. I don't think so, because Workbench is a relatively new tool, but let's just check. Okay. Okay, so blank. Then I want to create a new data source. Let's just see. So a whole lot of options to add data in. Okay, there's a lot of ways to add in data. Even a Star Wars API. Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't look like Workbench can be important to Data Studio, but it would be great if it could. And as I said, Workbench is a relatively new project that's out, and my team is basically testing it. So hopefully soon you'll be able to. But for example, in Workbench, you can export the file. But I understand what you're saying, because if this data is updating live, you want it to update live on Google Studio as well. So I understand the need for wanting to get this data straight, like link it into, so if you click on export, it just gives you this. It actually has a JSON feed, yes. So let's just see. Okay, if there's an option here for JSON feed. Oh, yeah, excellent. Let's see if it works. Let's go ahead and see if it works. That's an excellent question. Okay, custom requires authorization too. Okay, there's a lot of authorization required. But let's just copy this link in the meanwhile. JSON. Okay. Json Path. I hope this, I haven't done this before. Let's see. Let's just see if this works. Oh, okay. So I haven't done this before, but if it says you can add a JSON path in here, I'm sure you'll be able to. Yeah, I just haven't done this before. But that's an excellent question. Because this does say fetch data from any JSON, CSV, or XML with a URL or from your Google Drive. So it's just one of these that I have to put through. Can be used to extract specific value from the results. Okay, yeah. Okay, is there a limit to size of dataset? If I have a CSV file, 50 megabytes in size over the other, can these tools handle this? Okay, so what Google Data Studio allows is up to 100 megabytes per report. Okay, so you say for Data Studio. Workbench as well, I don't know, I don't think there'll be a problem with that. Yeah, because what Workbench does, it combines OpenRefine, which I showed you guys last year as well. It combines OpenRefine, and OpenRefine can handle large data sets. So I don't think that there will be a problem with that. But I haven't tried using a data set with over 300,000 rows. Okay, are there any questions? Wow, this session seemed to fly because I actually planned for it to be like 2 hours. We've done much. Yeah. Okay, are there any other questions? Another point about data that we use ethically, it's always important to state the source of your data. Where did you get the data from? The year, where it was published, the report. Yeah, so they are good and reliable data sources, but it's important. Like, I was talking to some journalists earlier, and they said, like, in an article they write, it is a known fact that 50% of people, for example, that is not reliable. You can't say it's a known fact. You need to say a report done by WHO, the name of the report, the year it was published, stated. Okay? So that's important as well. Okay, are there any more questions? Any more questions? Any feedback? Okay, Erica. Governments collect a lot of data on their citizenry and typically in detail. Typically, persons who collect data forms are privy to information that should be confidential. What recommendations are there to sensitize data custodians as how to protect, respect data? Mm. So typically, persons who collect data forms are privy to information that should. So I'm sure when data is collected, between its employees, the government like makes them sign or sign a sort of a contract or sign something stating that the information they collect is confidential. Okay. Also, like as I was talking about aggregating data and so forth, for government, they need the data broken down into, for example, each village and so forth, for them to make better decision making. Okay. Yeah, I think Michelle's right. There's a national issue per data protection bill. Yeah. So yes, it depends what data. Like, for example, your census data asks for particular questions that they want. But taking people's ID numbers, it's maybe if you want to know about if you bought a car or not, or a car survey or something, taking people's ID numbers is not necessary. So there needs to be a sort of, at government level, there needs to be standards that each department follows in terms of collecting their data. And also, I think when a lot of surveys are done, people are asked, like, are you okay with sharing your data? I'm not sure during each survey if you have to sign something to sort of, I'm not sure if you have to sign a sort of document to say that you approve that you want your data to be out there and all of that. But yeah, so the bill defines what you can and cannot do in sanctions, dating share. So just a little story to tell you. So when the census goes around, my aunt who lives in more of a farm rural area where there's not many houses, so this person comes into the yard and like she's afraid to tell them that she has a TV. She's afraid to tell them she has a telephone. She's afraid of telling them these things because she's afraid of theft. She's afraid that the census worker who's collecting her data will walk down the road, tell someone they have a TV, and so forth. And so she says she does not have a TV, says she does not have a telephone. Okay, so I understand that there is a need for confidentiality. And of course, there will need to be, the census collectors, the surveyors will need to sign a document saying that they will not disclose information. Yeah, consent forms are a must. At times, the value of data is not considered until it is a system. Paper is usually ignored to get transferred electronically. They hire data entry personnel, usually. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, we have to get the data. We have to do a survey. It's hard, like, you can trust someone can write that, but it's hard for us to control someone's actions. It's hard for us you can tell someone, okay, do not share this data with anyone, do not tell this to anyone, but they can go ahead and do it. So you can't really just, you can't really rely on each staff member. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's your guys' feedback on that. But that is a tough one. Hey, even though government, like in South Africa, even though government instills all those rules, you still see corruption happening. You still see all of this is happening. Like, for example, on Facebook, so your data on Facebook is public, okay? And you as the user consent for that to be public. So that's like another example. Yes, there probably is a standard for protection. So the Open Data Institute does a lot of work on this, on personal privacy and so forth. And some of the courses I've showed you earlier on academy.africa, it takes you through the different, like when US government, when you're publishing data about copyright, about privacy and so forth. I don't know it offhand. I don't know the privacy level sort of standard. Okay, Erica, whilst we wait data protection, both sectors need to begin to put policies in place. You have genuine concern. Imagine health data. That's why mine is fake. It's your Facebook fake. Yes, I'm just going to drop down what I showed you guys is Open Data Institute. Works with a lot of they work a lot on open data and ethics in open data. Yeah, using open data ethically, sharing data ethically. So the Open Data Institute does a lot on that. been your experience with government selling data? What has your experience been with government selling data? Eric, I'm not sure if this question is directed to me, but I haven't haven't experienced or haven't worked in any way where government, or I'm not aware of government selling data. I haven't worked with that. So I'm not sure. But I do know Facebook does it. So the data I assume government will be selling is like people's phone numbers, and so you get telesales people phoning them. I'm not sure if government will be selling data such as percent of population who has access to water facilities. So the data that government's going to put up is not going to be like cell phone numbers, it's not going to be email addresses, it's not going to put in that sort of thing. But what they're going to put in is like in each parish, how many people have access to electricity, how many people have access to education, and so forth. So that's the kind of data that will be put up on an open data platform. If you can give me examples of what kind of data is being sold, okay, because I haven't come across this issue, I haven't worked in that. Yes, I would assume it's telemarketing. It's for telemarketing. Because often I get almost every day I get a phone call, someone offering me insurance, someone offering me funeral cover. I'm like, where do they get my number from? That's actually a very interesting issue. I'm going to like research it more. I'm going to research this. It's quite interesting. Yeah, but like as I said, now government is not going to release such information as telephone numbers on an open data platform. So have you had, I mean, is this happening in Jamaica, or where about in the world have you read an article about this happening? There's data to support the contribution of open data to economic and social development in any country as an open data program. Okay. So telemarketing data is purchased from credit bureaus. And well, of course, advertisers purchase data from Facebook. Okay, so this was in Canada and the US. Yeah, that's very interesting. It'll be great to do an investigative piece on that. Yes, anonymization is very important. Are there any more questions? Does anyone have anything to say? So there's actually a tool called Stock Scan. Okay, just talking about all of this makes me think about this Stock Scan. Okay, so what you do here on Stock Scan, you put in someone's Facebook profile. Okay, so what you do is you log into Facebook, you find someone in the URL, you'll find facebook.com and their profile name and their number, for example. And then you click search. And what it does here, like you don't have to be this person's friend, okay, to get this data. Also, it depends on the security settings that the user has, okay. So what you can see is if you go to pictures, you can see all the pictures that they are tagged in, all the videos they are tagged in, all the comments they made in pictures, all the comments they made in videos, all the pictures they've liked, okay? Now this actually says, this tool does not violate Facebook's privacy settings, okay? It only shows hidden content you don't have access to on Facebook, okay? And it says it also shows Facebook doesn't really care about privacy controls and transparencies. Okay. So imagine your data is out there public and someone can search for it. What this is good, we teach this to our investigative journalists, because if they want to know if a politician has a connection with another politician or a businessman, for example, they can say they've never been with that person or never seen, it doesn't know that person, but you can see they've liked their photos, you can see they've commented on them, you can see they've been to events with them, and so forth. Okay, so all this data is available on Facebook, but you can't really see it. If you go onto someone's profile, you have to be their friend to see a lot of the things. And even if you are their friend, you're only going to see their feed. You can't go and see all the pictures they ever commented on, all the videos they ever commented on, and so forth. Okay, so that, yeah, so that's interesting. Okay. Okay. So you have not answered my last question. Let me just see your question. Is there data? Is there data to support the contribution of open data to economic and social development in any country that hasn't? I don't know that answer offhand. If there's any data to support the contribution of open data to economic and social development in any country that has an open data program. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yes, I'm not quite sure, but I can research that and get that back to you. Okay. The discussing surrounding anonymization made me think of the loopholes, data collection. It was not my intent to derail the discussions. Okay. Stock scan use is ethical. The work stock would suggest not. Privacy settings are important. Yes. So depending on your privacy settings, stock scan would not work. That's just an example of how your data is open. Okay, and the issue of big companies selling your data is there. But now that I'm hearing government is selling your data, that is quite disturbing. Okay, are there any other questions? Just see if I've missed any questions. Okay, so my homework is to send Michelle a whole lot of resources on normalizing data techniques. Let's see what else. I'm also going to try and figure out how to link Workbench into Data Studio. I know it's available. We've seen it, but to connect it through JSON, but I just have to work with that and figure that out. Okay, so are there any more questions? Oh, Marlene, I've misread your question. Yeah, there are many examples of open data that led to economic and social development. Yes, it's huge. Like, for example, I know a story in the US where people kept getting fines at a certain place. And when they actually mapped that out and they looked at the data, they realized that this place, I think it was like a no parking fine or something. But it actually showed that people aren't supposed to get fined there. Okay. There's just a whole lot of examples. Because what open data does is that it makes government accountable, okay? You know, so you can keep your government honest because you as the public have, you now see the data and you question government and say, why was this amount of money spent on office parties, okay? A whole lot of social issues. For example, in Kenya and in Nigeria, we have a tool called Dodgy Doctors, okay? So what that tool does, I can just show it to you guys. Star, okay, I can't get the website off. Star Kenya. Star Kenya. Okay. So what this tool, Dodgy Doctors, does is you can search a doctor or a nurse's name. And then you can enter the doctor's name here. Like, let's just put in David or something common. Let's just see. Searches, okay? And then it searches the different doctors that have the name David in it. And it actually shows when they were registered. Okay, and their qualification. What arose to this tool being created? In Africa, there's a lack of resources. So one doctor will need to wear many hats. For example, a vet may end up treating humans. So now when you are going to a doctor, you can search this doctor's name, okay? And you can actually see the qualification and whether this doctor is registered or not. There's various open data tools that allow give the public information and allow them to make decisions. Okay, so it's also an environmental tool in South Africa called Mine Alert, and so what that actually does is it maps out. It maps out areas where companies have made mining applications to. So you as the public, you can see that, and you can actually see if an illegal mining is happening in your area or not. There's so many. That's what Code for Africa does. We take data, we use it to make tools, and then from that tools, people are able to make more informed decisions. Okay, let's just see. Site. That's correct. This information is critical to get senior staff to buy into and contribute data for the website. Yeah, and you need a national open data policy to govern use of open data. Yeah, so in South Africa, we have some platforms where government has agreed to put up their data and make it available, and the data is visualized and so forth. I do understand that problem, because whenever you're talking to government, they're like so scared, and they just not really scared. They they don't want it. They it's like the fear of the unknown. But some informative tools can be made using data, and there's examples, so many examples. There's another tool called the Living Wage, which was developed in South Africa, and it talks about domestic workers and how much are you paying them, and from that you can actually adjust how many children do they have, how much do they spend on transport, and so forth. And this actually shows, okay, so are you paying your domestic workers enough? So what this does is it takes data, makes it accessible to you, and it helps you to make a more informed decision. So what I can do, Marlene, is send a whole lot of tools that have been developed in Africa, that Code for Africa has worked on in Africa. And there's also a lot of international examples to show how data has been used, and what's being done with it, like the tools that can be built with it and so forth. Yes, I understand a lot of officers do fear releasing personal data. That's why before it's released, it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be anonymized. Yeah, you can't just put it out there. So I think, but a national open data policy will actually help. It will help a lot, because then it'll tell you exactly what can be done and what can't be done, and in what manner to do it, and so forth. Not sure if does anyone know about Jamaica or St. Lucia? Does anyone know if Jamaica or St. Lucia is working on an open data policy, a national open data policy? Can we do dashboards in any of the ones you showed us today, multiple charts and on one live page? Yes. Yes. So you can put in your data into any of those dashboards, and you can embed it into your website. Okay, and you can also use it for reports as well if you're doing a presentation. So multiple charts on one page live data would be Data Studio, Google Data Studio. Oh, that's great. Jamaica's working on an open data policy. St. Lucia has an open data policy. Oh, that's great. So I'm not sure. I think this is Louise that's on here from St. Lucia. Or if she can't answer, maybe David can answer, and maybe just briefly tell us how how it's been, how the issue of sharing personal data has been overcome. How have you anonymized the data? So it'll be great, Michelle, if you're not already, if you haven't already connected with those in St. Lucia, particularly in government, and it'll be interesting to know how do they anomalize their data, or what policy they have to normalize their data. Could be quite useful to you. It would be great if I could hear everyone and everyone could interact a bit more better. Okay, so Louis says, we're still working on it. I would not say it has been overcome, but some agencies are more advanced than others. Okay. There's also an issue of, for example, if there are government employees who, or even members of parliament and so forth, who are engaged in fraudulent activities, do we as the public have the right to know the name of those people? Or is that data now confidential? And then also we could say in terms of government employees, to even provide their ID numbers so there's no misidentification of people. Okay, so these people are doing corruption, they are in corruption, they're doing some illegal activities. So we as the public do have the right to know their names and their ID numbers. What do you guys think about that? So the debate can go on and on. Like, yes, people can say, yes, the public need to know these ministers, these members of parliament, these government workers who are engaged in these fraudulent activities. We, on the other hand, we'll also try to say that no, their names must not be given out, that data is confidential. So that's why it's important to develop laws around privacy and access to information as well. Okay, are there any more questions? Anything else anyone would like to say? Okay. May I get your contact to I sit on Jamaica's Open Data Steering Committee. I'd like to see how we may exchange data and share experiences. Yeah, so Erica, I'm sure you can contact David from Slashroots who can connect you with Louise. I think it's Louise that's on here. A policy directive has to come from Parliament. For example, names of teachers who have molested children is being considered for public access. Yes, names, ID number, I don't think so. Yes, indeed. Yes, so you can provide, I mean, for example, the teachers who have molested children, so that data is requested for public access. The names, yes, but what if you have people with the same names? Okay, how do you then distinguish them? Then sometimes ID number is asked for, so you can distinguish between individuals. Things are in the media all the time, and the names are published. What was the question? Renames. I don't agree with ID numbers being public. So the question about the names were, for example, the question, what Marlene says, teachers who have molested children. So do we, as the public, have the right to know the names of those teachers who have molested those children? Then there's also misidentification, whereas people have the same names. And also, I know in the US it's called a FOMA. In South Africa, it's called a PAIA, Public Access to Information Act, where I'm not sure what's it called in St. Lucia and in Jamaica. But basically, anyone in the public can fill in a request form for data that's not on the government website. For example, things like the names of the teachers who have molested their children, okay? So there is an act allowing the public access to information. So it's not necessarily means it's on an open data platform. So you have to fill in a form, pay a fee, say what record you want. You have to say what format you want the record in, whether you want it into a spreadsheet, into pictures, and so forth. And so that actually allows the public access to information as well. They sometimes have the same names and date of birth within the teaching system. Ooh. So yeah, the idea of having an access to information act and an open data policy, quite important. So what information do you share? In this example, the names of teachers who have molested children. Does the public need to know that information? Is it important? Access to Information Act, yeah. Jamaica. So that act, the act also restricts, like it also, will restrict you from requesting people's ID numbers. They sometimes may, not allow you to access information about people's ID numbers, people's names, and so forth. But you as a public, are you right to that information? Like Erica says, the public has a right to know anything that will negatively impact their safety, especially if it involves criminal activity. So you see, in that issue, there's the debate now, whereas you don't want to share ID numbers and you don't want to share names. And in the other scenario, the public will say, no, we need to know. The concern is how the data is used, and there should be procedures in not have pedophiles and other criminals settle in areas where are the potential victims. So in the US, there's a map, like a platform of pedophiles. Okay, so you can search your area, put it in your address, and you can see the pedophiles within your vicinity, or how far they are from a school, how far are they from your house, and so forth. And this actually has the person's picture, it has their age, it has the crimes they've done, what they've been convicted of, and so forth. Okay. So now, what happens in a sort of kangaroo court, or when the public justice, for example, public takes justice into their own hand? So in an area maybe the public knows this person has molested a child, is a known pedophile, and then this allows the criminal. I mean, people will get aggressive towards them. People will try to beat them up. There's a lot of issues where you have sort of like a neighborhood justice system or a village justice system. They've known they've done something, they'll beat you up, and all of those things. So there's a big debate, like there are a number of websites that provide detailed information on citizens in Jamaica for free. Is this open data? No, that's not open data. Open data is free. Presume that hiring agencies do background checks and use agencies that would responsibly use the data. There is hope that current photos and other physical characteristics are known. Chefs and citizens of the US. Yeah, no, that's not open data. Open data is meant to be free. So for example, that pedophile map that's done for the US. If I know my neighbor's a pedophile, I'm not likely to send my child over to be babysat at his place. Okay? So the public can say this data is needed. We require to have access to this data. We need it. Whereas, does this invade the pedophile's privacy by exposing all of this? Okay, so we've gone on for 2 hours now. I'm sure everyone's quite exhausted now after listening to me for so long. So are there any other final questions, and then we can round everything up? Open data and a fee. Isn't there a standard guide where government can charge for the data? What of agencies that make revenue from the data? So, for example, the Access to Information Act. In South Africa, we have to pay a small fee, and that's for government to sort of find their records, print the records, and so forth. That's a very minimal fee. You can get exempt from that as well. But that's not open data. If you charged a fee, that's not open data. Open data is available to anyone in a format that's machine readable. Electricity has gone off at 10. So as I told you, shedding now in the dark. To any other questions, especially if it involves nonsense there. Okay, it is believe one of it. So is it okay if we knock off now, because spotting, I'm not sure how strong the connection will be and how long it will last for. So you can see I'm in pitch darkness now. Okay, any further questions, everyone? Okay, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you to Slashroots for setting this up. So I know what everyone wants from me, and I will get back to you during the week. There's Saturday to this. Yeah, thanks everyone. It was lovely to chat to all of you again after such a long time. Okay, if you have 1 or 2 more questions, we can. Okay. Are we good to go? Okay, so I'm saying bye now. Okay, so this video will be up for anyone who wants to view it later. Okay, thanks guys. Bye-bye.